successful to Jesus begin by relating to him as his follower. What's up guys, Aimé back again. Today I'll be sharing some quotes that will help you to memorize and meditate upon your life following Jesus. And you know that as a follower of Jesus, Christianity is very different from other belief. As we often say, follow the leader. So who is the leader? Jesus Christ. Are you his follower? Or you want Jesus to follow your request? Because when a Christian hears, they see more of our distorted portrait of Christianity than they do a clear reflection of the character and quality of Christ. So they see us as a distorted portrait of Christianity because of the character. So our character sometimes is not aligned with the true Christianity is because of the problem of not following Christ clearly. Because sometimes when we behave like non-believers, we are not mirroring Christ. When they see us, it's like a mirror. They don't see Christ in us. So some of it is our weakness, some of it is our pride, some of it is failing, some temptation that often come along the way. Following is the beginning and the end of what it's meant to be a Christian. Sometimes along the way, we may be not following Jesus because of the pride, as I say, because of arrogance, because of our weakness, because of failure and the test that we fail, and because of the flesh. But everything that is in between, the beginning and the end, is measured up by it. So following, in brief, is the beginning and the end of what it meant to be a Christian. Everything in between is measured up by it. So let me give you an example of a discipleship story. The story of Samson. Samson's story is found in Judges chapter 13 to 16. And Samson was one of the judges of Israel. When the people of Israel entered the promised land, they had a person that God raised to be a judge for them. And that time, Israel was under the rule of Palestine, around 40 years, under their oppression. They were a pagan and hostile nation. And God raised Samson. Samson was special. He was among the 4 people that God called to serve Israel. You know the story of marrying a wife that his parents did not advise. And they warned him, but he refused out of his selfishness. And also another woman who was a prostitute from the enemy side. And that was his arrogance and pride. But what can we learn about Samson? Samson is not a hero to follow, but yet God used him. So as a disciple of God, Samson should have followed God wholeheartedly. So Samson's story is a story of a man that was brought down by his moral weakness. His strong relationship with God would have helped him control his relationship with women. As 2 Corinthians 6 verse 14 says, do not be yoked with unbelievers. Yet Samson was still a man of faith. At the end of his life, he asked God to help. This is always the believer's faith. And his story warning us against pride and taking for granted the blessing that God has given us. If you're gifted, if you have been blessed by God, don't take it for granted. And his story is remind us the danger of disobeying God to follow our own desire. A man whose name is Sunny ended his day in darkness. What we see here is how just dangerous the wrong influence can be. He was influenced by his anger, he was influenced by his pride because of being a Nazarite. He's among 4 people that God called to be a Nazarite. A Nazarite, it was a separate person. That he should not cut his hair, he should not drink wine, nor he should touch a dead body. And he was called from his mother's womb. That is a Nazarite. A man of faith who was defeated by a sinful compromise. That is how we are not walking as disciples of Jesus. We are failing. We are being defeated because of compromise. That's why, as I started, sometimes people do not see Christianity in us. We do not mirror Christ. We look like non-believers. Samson can be one of us. You can be Samson, I can be Samson, because of compromise, because of our moral weakness. But following Christ, it's a gradual journey of obedience and adhere to Christ. Christ's word, Christ's promise, Christ's devotion, Christ's commitment, and Christ's help. And as 1 John chapter 4:16, it says he first loved us. Therefore, we should love him. So we should be motivated by his love. He first loved us. That's why we love him. Are you motivated by loving him? Loving entails obeying him, committed to him, and devoted to him. Samson should be an example of not following, should be an example of not abiding. So as a follower of Jesus Christ, we should abide in discipleship. As we said in previous video, discipleship is just following Jesus. As Jesus said, follow me. Therefore, Christianity without the living Christ is inevitably Christianity without discipleship. And Christianity without discipleship is Christianity without Christ. Him who said in Matthew chapter 4, verse 19, follow me. We follow Christ, not our leader. They may fail us. They may be tempted and fail. They may be tested and fall down as well as, but we follow Christ. One of the reward of following Christ is the simplicity and wonders it brings to life. I understand starting as a follower, it is the easy step. Staying on the road with him is the challenge, but he promises us to keep on abiding in him so that we can be able to win the battle. I encourage you to keep on abiding in him, as his word says in John 15. If you think you can walk with your own strength, you will fail. We are being held by the Holy Spirit as a guarantee to overcome the temptation that Samson had. So this following Jesus will help us avoiding the so-called just do it. Have you bought also a brand that says just do it? It sells more than shoes. So sometimes we fail or we sin because the enemy is telling you just do it, instead of listening to what Jesus tells you. It is the same story that happened to Samson. He just wanted to do things because he has strength, because God has given strength in his physique, and is not following God. Yet God is using him to finish his enemy, the enemy of Israel. God has raised a leader, but that leader is not following God. The same story with the Saul. The king Saul did not follow God, but was following the word just do it for the sake of doing things. So God is calling us to follow him, not just do it. Do you take time to think about every action that you do? Do you take counsel from the Spirit of God? Do you follow his leading? Can you say for the leader, I follow the leader? There is grace, as God has given grace to Samson at the end of his life. He called upon the name of the Lord and God rescued him. God can rescue. God can restore you too. Call upon his name. Let's be people who believe in Christ, not people who confuse the non-believer that we're Christian. Let Samson be a lesson to us, be an example to us. Don't just do it. Whatever the enemy or your mind is telling you to do, follow Christ. Be blessed.